Welcome to the Diary of a Side Hustler podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Brooks. Let's get into today's episode. Whether pursuing a passion project or passive income, over 40% of Americans have a side hustle. The Diary of a Side Hustler shares the personal stories of small business owners who turned their passions into an opportunity for profit while balancing life, multiple jobs, and everything in between. Today, I am joined by Reggie Pharr. Reggie is the owner of BS Kicks. BS Kicks stands for Bro and Sis Kicks. It is an online sneaker reseller. Reggie studied computer science in college and started working at a computer lab straight out of college. And one day, his friends convinced him to try a job that would allow him to work out, help people, and be social. So he did it and became a firefighter that loves sneakers. Reggie and his sister have loved sneakers from as early as he can remember, and they bonded over it. The original goal was to do sneaker reviews on YouTube. And one day, Reggie sold a pair of his sister's sneakers and realized he could keep it going. And BS Kicks was born. With a knack for sales and a love for a hustle, Reggie has pursued multiple business opportunities during his 17-year journey selling sneakers. Reggie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I like that. I like that intro.
I'll let you borrow it.
I like that.
Okay,
that's
cool. So just to get us warmed up, when you were younger and someone asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" What did you say?
When I was younger, I think for a while, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think whenever I gave up, I used to like playing basketball, football, other things like that. But then when I, came to the realization, hey, man, it's not gonna happen for you. It was
you
like,
never go to the league?
Nah, not to the league. But you can't catch me at the rec. It's the recreational leagues on Sundays.
We'll take that.
Yeah, but that's as good as it's gonna get for me. But I just knew entrepreneurship was it. I had some, people that I seen at an early age, that inspired me, that I aspired to be. My mom's always been somebody who cooked, and at first she was cooking and doing all types of selling plates and stuff like that for our church or other places, and she was an entrepreneur for sure. My grandfather, my mom's dad was he was a taxi driver. So he was an entrepreneur too. So it's one of those things when you see people, when they eat what they kill, you kind of get that, it gets engraved in you and you're like, man, I like it, So I think for as long as I know back that's the thing that I wanted to do. But of course you get sidetracked. There's other things you see, can I do this? I studied computer science in college, but, maybe I'm not a good, I was a coder. I could do it, but it's just not something that I wanted to. Thing. It's not my thing.
But entrepreneurship was in your blood.
Man, it's always something that kept me going. I was motivated to do.
Okay.
Yeah, for
cool.
Sure.
So when did you get into sneakers? And what is it about sneakers that piques your interest, that makes you just love the culture and everything around them?
When did I get into sneakers? That's a good question. I can't even remember. I remember being young and seeing the Jumpman, the team Jumpmans that came out. When I was young, I remember crying over a shoe that my parents was nah, I'm not gonna get it. But it was always from a younger age, it was I was infatuated with certain shoes. It was not even always the hype. Reebok Classic came out with something, a collab with Ronald Berry. I really liked it. Puma came out with the El Rey. I really liked those. It's just certain models. I went through the skater phase that I like Nike SB. It was just every step of the way. It was just shoes. Of course, like I said, I wanted to play basketball. And I played basketball when I was younger. And that's the place where you see a lot of Jordans. You see a lot of stuff, man. And that was one of the first ways I could really express myself,
It's a form of art.
Yeah, putting on a pair of sneakers. For sure.
Do you have a favorite pair?
What's my favorite pair?
All time.
I can't say I have a favorite because I'm always going to change. Maybe okay. All right. I'll say the Nike Dunk Low Pac-Man.
Okay.
Nike Dunk Low Pac-Man was my favorite. I don't know. It was a dope shoe. I had a pair. It was dope. I don't know. I liked it. Yeah, I was a big Nike SB fan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to talk about you actually getting into selling sneakers because you've been doing it for quite some time. It's not like I graduated college and then started selling sneakers.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was the first pair of sneakers that you sold?
The first pair of sneakers I sold was it's a funny story. So my sister had this pair of shoes in her closet. And she never wore them. They were brand new. She just didn't like the shoe, and I think somebody had given her the pair as like a gift. And it was a guy in my neighborhood who wore the size, and he was looking for some shoes. I don't know how we came across or how the conversation came, but I was like, I pitched it to him. I was like, hey, I got these shoes here. If you want them,
Shoes that weren't yours, but
shoes that were not mine.
Okay.
But I was like, hey, do you want these Jordans? I got them. And he was like, yeah. So he went up the street. He got some cash from his mom. And I went up there. I snuck up there to my sister's room, grabbed the pair of sneakers, went outside, sold the sneakers to him. And, and I would have gotten away with it. But my sister called me.
Was it for those meddling kids?
Man, my sister called me coming back in the house with money in my hand, and she was like, where you get that money from? And she had a way of breaking me down, and I was like, man. But I gave her 50% of the profit, so she got half of it. I couldn't give her the whole thing, but I gave her half the money. So
okay.
She was cool with it because she didn't want them shoes anyway, though. But
How
that was the first
old were
time.
You?
I probably was like 14 when that happened.
Okay, and is your sister older or younger than you?
She's older. She's a year older than me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you was making both of y'all money.
Come on now. We both made money that day.
Listen,
She was happy.
You eat. Okay.
She was happy. Bro and sis.
Okay, so what happened from there? Was that the moment you're like, oh, I could do this? Or did you have a couple other moments before you led up to, hey, I actually want to do this?
I didn't really make a lot of them. I think I probably sold those shoes for like $90, $80. It wasn't like that much money. There was a dude named Fresh, and he had a...
that was his real name on his birth certificate?
His name was Fresh. I don't know. People don't give their real names these days, especially not in the
sneakers.
Yeah, in the sneaker
Okay,
world.
got it.
You don't get people. But Fresh Exclusive was his store, and he had a store off Central Avenue. So I used to, me and my homie Jeff, we used to visit the store all the time. Well, me, Jeff, and Thomas, we used to visit the store all the time, and somehow we started working for him. Basically, standing in line for shoes for him. And I remember one time we went to Raleigh on an AAU tournament, me and Jeff, and the year the Rabbit Sevens dropped. The year the Rabbit Sevens dropped, and I stood in line for him. That's back when you could be at the mall all night. I was out there all night, and then
you camped out.
We camped out for the shoe. Then
what time did you get there?
We got there that night. It probably had to be 1 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, it was late. We was in high school too. But shout out to my homie Jeff, man. He definitely held me down because he didn't even want the shoe. We both were in line for one pair of shoes. If I knew what I know now, I definitely would have been like, yo, let's get two pair. But I probably didn't even have the money looking back at it. But yeah, we got that shoe. I took him back to Fresh. And Fresh had the clientele, man. It was crazy. He had Carolina Panthers. He had a lot of people buying shoes. This dude sold that pair of shoes for $700.
And how much did you pay for it?
I bought the shoe. I think at that time the retail of that shoe was probably $180.
And he sold it for $700.
$700.
Did he cut y'all a piece?
Yeah, of course. He took his consignment fee out. I think it was 15% or something like that. He took his consignment fee and gave us the rest of the bread. Man, I was happy. That was a flip, man.
Wow,
he flipped.
That is insane.
That was a crazy flip.
And to be in high school and making that type of money is
it was
crazy.
That was just a one-off. It wasn't I was consistently doing that. But after that, it was hey, what you need? After I see you can make some money, I'm so we started standing in line for him. Every flip wasn't like that. That was a rare shoe that I think it was only dropping in the House of Hoops. But yeah, man, yeah. That was the first time I was dang, sneakers can really make me some money. They can really make me some money.
Yeah, and sneakers aren't cheap, even if you do catch them at the drop. So when did you decide I'm going to take this seriously enough that I'm actually about to put up money to buy these sneakers and trust that I can make money on the back end?
Like I said, it was stages, it was steps.
What's first step? What was first step?
That was the first step.
Okay.
Fresh was this first step. That was
Shout
the
out
first.
to my boy Fred.
Yeah. Shout out to Fresh. He was really the first black resale spot in Charlotte, man.
What was the next step for you
So
to take
after
it seriously?
after high school, I went to college, and I think it was in the back of my mind. I really just stopped doing sneakers for a little bit. Then I got a job with GDS Skate Shop.
Okay.
And so GDS Skate Shop was in the mall. So of
And
course,
that's a sneaker store. Assuming.
GDS Skate Shop is a skate shop, which
Okay.
only had a Nike account.
Okay.
They had a Nike SB account. So it was Nikes we could sell in there, but I mean, we weren't getting all the Nikes out of there. Like he would give us our size, so it wasn't like, hey, you can resell all of these. But it was other spots in there, like the Champs and the Foot Lockers and the Detail R. We were getting cool with those people because they would want shoes from us and we want shoes from them. So we'd be like, hey, let me get a couple pairs. So I'd be going in there buying shoes from them, and then I would be plopping them right up there on the desk at the counter at the skate shop. So we got these Nike SBs, and you go to the counter, it's like some J's up there. So, and it was at that time it was no sneaker reseller in the mall at all.
So were you collecting the profit? Were you like throwing it to the
Yeah,
store?
Kev
or
was.
how did it
Nah,
work?
Kev. Shout out to Kev. He was the owner of that store. He was definitely letting me, keep the profit. He wasn't paying me like a lot. He's paying. I'm not even gonna tell you what he's paying me because he was getting off. But yeah, like he was letting me keep the profit for sure. Yeah.
That's what's up. You were running your business out of somebody else's business.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. But if you I don't know, like maybe he might tell you. He might tell you this if you ask. But like when I got there to his store, from when I left his store, I ran his store like it was my store. So people that were around me were like, "Yo, this is yours." People would literally ask me if this was. I think I was at his store for probably like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Like I was embedded. I was embedded in it. Like I was just, from like, hey, let's start this Instagram. Let's do this. Always with ideas. A lot of stuff, man. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So what made you go to school to study computer science if you love sneakers the way that you do?
Just one of those degrees. You thinking like, all right, I'm gonna make some money from it for real.
So you was always about the hustle.
Man, it was always about trying to make money. So I thought like with computer science, like I had a teacher in high school that was like, "Hey, you pretty good with computers. Maybe you should study this." So I went through with it, and yeah.
Okay, and then what happened after college? Did you get a job in computer science?
Yeah, I did. I was at a I was at a little computer lab, but it didn't pay that much. I got I don't want to say what I got paid, but I got paid. Okay for getting right out of college. For getting right out of college, $40,000-$50,000. That's good. From when I got out of college,
more than I was making in college. So
yeah, for sure, it was more than I make. Definitely more than I was making in college, but other places like hard labor always pays more.
Okay.
UPS is paying more, of course.
Then a computer lab?
At the time,
Okay.
because all the places that were all the coding jobs at the time, they wanted somebody with experience. It wasn't like now. Like now, so many coding jobs available, but then it was like, nah, you got to have experience. So I kept applying, and it just felt like everybody was like, turning me down. But then I got into this computer lab and just did some problem.
Okay, so when did you leave the computer lab and what did you go do next?
From the computer lab, I went to Red Bull. Red Bull was the next part of my life. Yeah.
Okay, what did you do for Red Bull?
Account management. Account management is basically delivering product into Red Bull.
So
That's
a
glorified term for
a delivery driver?
a delivery guy. So, but yeah.
But they were paying more because it was hard labor.
For sure. When I got the Red Bull, we were making like 60, 65
To
70,
drive the truck?
To drive that truck and drop off product. Yeah, making
Wow.
money.
Okay.
Making money for sure.
So why'd you leave Red Bull?
While doing Red Bull, I started selling sneakers. I got into the business with this guy, with a box truck. So I started driving this box truck for this guy that my dad was working with, a manager at UPS. So yeah, I started driving for him, and that was paying. So I would do Red Bull, I would sell sneakers, and I'd be driving a box truck.
You had a couple hustles.
Man, I had to get to it for real. I was young. I needed money.
Okay, so you told me when we talked that a friend had like pitched the idea essentially of becoming a firefighter. Why did that interest you over, your box truck days?
So with the box truck, COVID hit.
Okay.
COVID hit. So the whole scheme of things, like people were losing contracts. I didn't know how the landscape was gonna go. It was just uncertainty, And when I was at Red Bull, like I didn't like the management. I didn't like the direction they were going in, but I was still good at my job. At least they were telling me they didn't want me to get out of it. but yeah, so I think at a certain time I just got exhausted. I had all these jobs. I was doing all this stuff. Still trying to find myself, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna put my 2-week notice in for Red Bull. I put my 2-week notice in for Red Bull
with no plan.
No plan.
Okay.
No plan at all. But I was selling sneakers. I was already selling sneakers, but it wasn't. But for real, I wasn't like selling enough sneakers to be like, all right, I'm gonna stop Red Bull and do this. But I was like, I'm gonna put my 2-week notice in because your piece means something.
For sure.
So yeah.
And then your friends picked you on becoming a fire. What did they say?
No, so we missing the whole part.
Okay.
So at the time, so during that time, I was still doing the trucking. I was still making money from the trucking. But then that's when, even with the trucking, the sneakers started picking up.
Okay.
So I started
Do you know what made it like start picking up?
I started my Instagram. I turned my Instagram from my Instagram into the sneaker Instagram. At first, I was just selling my size. Like, oh, I need this money. So I was just selling my closet. But then people like, yo, you got this, you got this. I'm like, I mean, you don't know how to get this? I thought it was just simple knowledge that everybody knew. But people just really just didn't know how to get to, the sneaker. They didn't have the product knowledge that I had, And I guess I took it for granted because I was just around it so much. Mm-hmm. At that time, I started like I started buying like used shoes. I guess I'm giving y'all the game right now. I'm gonna give y'all the game. And then you clean them. Yeah, I buy used shoes, clean them. I might buy them off offer up. I might buy them off Facebook Marketplace, wherever, and then sell them right back on them platforms. Oh, and it was a lot of it was money in it at that time. Used shoes, man, it was a great profit margin on those. You might get a pair for $30, $40, flipping them back for $120, $100. Like, it was definitely, used shoes was where it's at the time for sure.
Wow. Yeah, like if there were some shoes that I really wanted, I would not know where to go other than like maybe I go to StockX and buy some shoes.
Yeah, StockX. I don't think StockX was really around like at the time. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so then what happened?
This is the early part of StockX.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened next? You're working at the trucking and the sneaker business is picking off.
Start picking up. So I started traveling with it. I started going to like sneaker cons. I started.
What is a sneaker con?
Sneaker con is like I think this is a Japanese dude who started it. There's a retail space. He gives everybody a retail space, and his platform. He lends everybody his platform to come and set up their sneaker tables and sell them. Oh. So basically he'll have like, he may have like a celebrity there. He might do certain things to bring people in the building and have all the sneakers that all these people have sneakers. And I don't know exactly how he built it up, but now it's just like the culture. It's like the culture for real. Like it's like you'll have like rap stars there. You have people coming in and, it'll be thousands of people in one room. Everybody trying to sell their shoes.
That's what's up. What was your first experience like?
My first experience was I went down there. I took a car full of shoes. I probably had like 30 shoes, and I was selling out of something you call the sneaker pit. I didn't have my table at first, so I was at the sneaker pit, and I went down there. I somehow finessed my way into in the door, and yeah, I had like 30 shoes, I think. I pretty much came back home like empty-handed, and I'm like, man, it's some money out there, and it was only in Atlanta. So it's like 4 hours. My sister was supposed to go with me, but she didn't end up going. I think Thomas ended up going with me to the first sneaker con. But it was dope though. It was really dope. Definitely a great experience.
Okay, cool. So SneakerCon helped get your business off the ground during that time. What else?
I don't think SneakerCon like helped my business get off the ground. It was definitely a place where I got to network with people. But what really helped my business get off the ground was like word of mouth around here, like content, constant, being consistent, release after release after release, building up a loyal customer base. So that's really what helped. It was really like no like shortcuts or like this person gonna put me on or that person gonna put me on. It was just business over the years. Honestly, people knowing who I was. Then I had my sister help me with behind the scenes a lot. Like whenever we stopped, like whenever she stopped like selling shoes with me, she was like behind the scenes and she was like telling me, hey, you need to market yourself this way. People need to see your personality. People need to see this. People need to see that. And I don't know, over the years, it just kept on growing.
She was giving you marketing game.
Man, my sister's a beast too. My sister's definitely a beast. Shout out to Kendra, man.
I have a sibling whom I love. I cannot imagine doing business with my sibling.
Did not work. Business with my sister did not work because it was always going to be something. It was always going to be something. And definitely not working with your sister, It's just like, nah, like that did not work. Because I always think people are going to be locked into the business like I'm locked in. And sometimes I get like, tunnel vision. Like I want to eat, sleep, breathe it. But like you may not be like you may not want to do it like that. Like you may not be motivated to do it like that. But I mean, she's really good. Like, but I'm like, all right, I want to post it this time. Mm-hmm. Where's the post at? Or I want to do this at this time. Where's so I don't know.
So what happened? Do y'all still do business together?
Yeah, for sure. My sister entrepreneur now. She has her own. Well, she helps my mom with the catering business, and she has some contracts and other stuff like that. She's an entrepreneur in her own right.
Okay,
sure.
But
Definitely.
Y'all don't do sneakers together anymore.
She helps me still with marketing to this day.
Okay.
Whenever she has an idea, whenever I need a flyer done, whenever something like I still like sell some of her sneakers. We still look out for each other. Like that's my sister. It's always gonna be bro and sis for sure.
Okay. So how did you become a firefighter?
Oh, I became a firefighter in the gym, really. Playing basketball with these guys. Like it was during the time of COVID. It was just guys in the gym. They like, man, dude, you should do this. And I really seen the transformation in the lives of friends that were firemen. And I'm like, yo, this dude really changed. He like matured a lot, And that discipline that he had, like, I'm like, dang, like it's something I might want to try. I was already working out. I was already in the gym. I was already locked in. And I was like, man, it's something I think I can do. I like helping people. I like talking to people, I didn't know everything that happened. I didn't even know like that a fireman stays at the, station 24 hours.
Really?
I didn't know everything. I wasn't born in it. It was nothing I grew up and was like, this is what I want to do. But like, whenever I got into it, I was like, yeah, man, it's a way of life for real.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
How do you make that work with you have to stay at a station 24 hours and then you also have multiple other businesses?
It's tough. It's really tough.
What do you do? Give us the tea. Put us on game. This is a diary.
You got to work around it.
We want to know.
You got to work through your schedule. Like when I'm at the fire station, though, I am totally fire. But when I leave the fire station, I get right back into the business. So it's tough. It's tough, but people understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does your time commitment look like on an average week? Of you have multiple businesses and then you also have a full-time job. Like, what does it look like? How do you balance? When do you sleep?
I really feel like, even though this is Diary of a Side Hustler, there is no side, like, there is no such thing as a side gig. If you really want to do it, it's no such thing. It's everything full-time. Everything is 24/7. Everything you're going to be like, dang, like when you go to sleep, especially if it's your business, if it's your baby, like you're going to be like, nah, like what I got to do. Just got to find that balance,
Okay, so you talked a little bit about how you were in the sneaker industry, you worked at stores before, but now you're on your own. So how do you like make connections to be able to, know how the drops work, to be able to like get your pre-order? Is it networking, or do you have to like be on some list to do like wholesale with the industry, or how does that work?
Man, it's really just, you got to be talking to people. It's your like you said, it's your networking. You got to keep on evolving with the game. If you know
what
the
does
game,
that look like? What does that mean for people? I'm not a sneaker person. I don't know. What does that look
evolving
like?
with the game?
Yeah, what does that mean?
However it is, like if it's doing a raffle, you got to do the raffles. If it's, whatever,
So you do the raffles?
Yeah, I do raffles.
Okay.
Of course, there's some other stuff too, but
Do you still camp out?
If I got to, I will. Definitely, I will camp out. And it's certain stores. I only go to. I have relationships I only go to get my own size, and there's other stores I'm like, hey, I can get this size and this size. And, it's just, in this business, one hand washes the other. So definitely, I don't want to, give everything.
Yeah. You still gotta come buy your shoes from me.
Come on now, holla at me. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. As you look back over the 17 years you've been selling sneakers,
Yeah,
right?
17 years.
17 years. What is the moment that you feel like refined the business the most?
What really refined my business, man, is just growing with the times, just constantly growing with the times, seeing how it switched up. And I guess as time went on, like I got better at like growing with the time, I guess,
Okay. So COVID, you weren't one of the people that went under during COVID. Your business did well or better during COVID.
I thrived during COVID. That's probably one of my best times. COVID was the best,
What did you do differently during that time?
What was different doing? I think the prices of stuff was different. The prices, people like, it wasn't as many people in the reselling business.
Okay.
So you could get out there and you could, really just get it. It was just the beginning of it. I think the Asian market really was a big factor in it. At that time, you could sell like Jordan 1s to like, the Asian reseller or something like that. It was places you could dump off sneakers. Like you always were going to be able to get your sneakers off. And if you were looking at the market, like the sneaker price was always like growing and growing and growing. If you got a shoe for $120, the next year you knew that price was going to be $300. You knew it was going to keep on going up, just based on the scale or based on the trends or the market.
Okay, when we talked, you said that you've always had a knack for sales.
Yeah, for sure.
What other things have you sold other than Red Bull and sneakers?
Man, what haven't I sold, man? Red Bull. It was a time I was selling tickets.
For like concert tickets?
Concert tickets, yeah, for sure. Like, what else have I sold, man? That's a lot of stuff that I've sold. We did different events. We did the sneaker prom. You were at the sneaker prom.
Yes, I did go.
What else? So in college, we would get our refund checks.
Okay.
And we would take the refund checks and we would basically go to venues other places like, hey, can we rent out your space for this time or this time? And usually the times we rent it out for us maybe like homecoming or Halloween or other places like that. And then we flip it, like we get a big return on our,
To host a party, or what would you
As a party. It was parties for sure.
Oh, okay.
They do parties for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's that? Partying, Red Bull, sneakers, tickets, what else? Man, a lot of stuff. Whatever I could sell.
Where do you feel like you got that skill from?
I don't know. Maybe it's just something that's embedded in me naturally. I don't know.
No, nobody else in your family is like that?
Nobody else in my family is like wants to sell like I do, honestly. I don't think there's nobody in my family that wants to like really like sell like I do. Like I said, my mom's an entrepreneur. She sells food. She's a cook, but nobody else like sells anything. I'll sell anything,
So,
not anything that's legal.
Okay. Have to qualify.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Have to qualify.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I see something that if I see that there's a need and I see that there's a demand for something and I see that, hey, like there's a limited quantity of it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get in there first. I'm gonna buy it first, and I'm gonna resell it back.
Where do you feel like you learned that though? Like, cause that's not what you studied in school, and that's definitely a business concept.
I think the only way to learn business is to be in business. I think my first time selling a sneaker, I kind of understood it. From then, is like I think the only way to learn, like I said, the only way to learn it is to actually be in it. Like then you'll start seeing other things, like other trends and other businesses. You like, dang, like where can I find my niche? Like where can I get in? Where can I fit in?
Okay, so what was your biggest flip?
My biggest flip for sure was the Jordan 1 satin. Like the Jordan 1, it was like a women's shoe. The Jordan 1, I had it planned out. I probably had like I say like 12 people working with me that day. That I was like, all right, I'm gonna pay you $50. I'm gonna pay you $50. I'm gonna pay you $50. So I mean, I guess I can give people like the cheat code now, since it's over and you can't do it this way no more, because it don't work like this anymore. But so what happened was the Jordan Satin 1 was only really dropping at like Foot Lockers and stuff like that. But I knew at Foot Lockers you had to have like, I think, a raffle at the time when it released. And but at Hibbett Sports, it was dropping, and at a certain time they were the leftover shoes. After you camped out, they would give the leftovers to whoever was camped out.
They would just give them to you.
No, not give them to you. You had to pay for them.
Okay.
But like when you win a raffle, you don't win the shoe for free.
Okay,
you win the opportunity to pay for it for its price. But a shoe that's going for a shoe you paying $160 retail for, that's going for $1,000. That's that within itself, that's winning a lottery. Mm-hmm. So it's a lottery pick for so I basically had my cousins with me. I think it was the summertime. I had some of my cousins in Albemarle. I had some cousins in Monroe. I had some cousins in the Charlotte store. I had my mom. I had some other people at the Concord store. So I put them at every store that you hear. Then I had people at stores. I was talking to them like, hey, like I need this shoe. I really need this shoe. So I was getting pairs from different people. Like and I won, and I put in for like raffles myself, and I won a couple raffles. So yeah.
So you got multiple pairs of the shoes.
I think I got like 22 pairs of shoes. I got like 22 pairs of those shoes, and at the time they were going for like $1,000 a piece. Over 1,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was a flip for sure.
Okay, well, on the flip side, no pun intended, what was your biggest loss?
Man, biggest loss. It was Jordan 1s too, man. It was Jordan 1s all in general, like because it was a shoe you felt like you could always just hold it and the price was gonna go up and up and up and up. And then at one time it just slid, like when the Asian market crashed and like in Europe and places like that, Jordan started sitting on shelves. It really just hurt me. It really hurt me because I had a lot of Jordan 1s that were just sitting in my storage unit. So I didn't always have the time to go and check, and I didn't have certain people, like I didn't have the staff in place to be like, hey, this is going down in price, which in hindsight, like the amount of money I lost, I really should have had somebody like constantly looking, like constantly selling, constantly, doing, even in times I couldn't do it. But hindsight is 2020. Some shoes that were going for like 400, I probably had like 220 shoes or something like that, Jordan 1s. Well, just Jordan 1s, pairs of 1s. And they all were like below retail. Like when I look back, they were all below retail. And I'm talking about some of these shoes was going for like 300. It was bad. That was a bad one. But I had made so much money off Jordan 1s, it's like, all right, what can I...
You was going to forgive that one.
Huh?
You was going to forgive the
Yeah,
ones
but that's definitely one of the biggest losses though. Because altogether, man, I lost some bread. But that comes with it. That's a learning curve. Always know the product you have. Always know the market, and always see it going up and down. So.
Yeah. So you said something interesting. You have a lot of shoes at one time.
You said
keep a lot of shoes at one time, like inventory wise.
For sure. At the time I did. At the time I kept a lot more shoes than I do now, because I would, like I said, I would have bulk buyers. So I would have people like I would have overseas people. I have stores that I would sell to. That was my niche. I would have store. I still have stores that buy from me now. Like I never got a brick and mortar. You know, I still do it online. I still do like stuff like that. But like, yeah, I have stores that'll buy from me. I had other resellers that will buy from me in bulk.
Do you keep a lot of inventory now?
No, I don't. I don't keep a lot of inventory
Okay,
now.
so no
I've
storage
evolved.
unit?
Huh?
No storage unit?
Oh yeah, I still got a storage. But it don't have nearly as much as I did at the time. But you can't keep your inventory at your house. That's not smart.
Okay.
In business, if you got something valuable, get insurance on it and keep it away from your house.
Okay.
That's just, free game.
Okay, cool. And so I feel like being in the shoe game, being in the market, it's like being a collector of sorts. Like you have to know the value, you have to know how long you want to keep it, when do you want to sell it. So would you consider yourself a collector?
I've always been a collector as far as I can remember. When I was, four, the collector Jurassic Parks that used to light up, I had a pair of those. When I was in middle school, I collected Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I had a Huffy bike that was a collectible item. I had everything that was a collectible. If you into sneakers, usually most times you came from something else. Like you came from maybe Pokemon. You're just a collector. Like we just love sneakers. Honestly, I became a sneaker like reseller, so quote unquote. Just out of necessity for like the money. I was like, damn, let me get the money. But it really just started out like, all right, let me sell these shoes to get more money for my own shoes, So, but yeah, like I'm still a collector to this day, man. I still got a ton of sneakers.
How do you decide which ones you want to keep for yourself?
You can't keep everything because everything it's tough. It's really tough because everything, it's a lot of things that drop, man. And before you know it, you'll have way too many shoes.
How many pair do you have that are like yours?
That are mine?
Yeah.
I think I'm down to like probably like maybe like 50 pair of shoes that are mine.
50?
Yeah, 50.
I'm not gonna tell you how many shoes I have.
How many pairs of shoes?
I don't know. Stop. You get in my closet. Stop.
Okay, we just be in mine then. Okay.
Okay. Where do you want your side hustle, even though, not really a side hustle, you're all in, but where do you want your sneaker reselling business to take you?
Oh man, I think now it's just like, what can I create from it? Like, what can I create from it? We recently we partnered with this Grease League, this one-on-one league, which is big. You got leagues like Next Chapter, you have leagues like the Junes League, Off the Dribble, and other leagues like that. And it's a big space. It's a big thing in sports right now, one-on-one basketball. So we partner with this guy, and we have events every month. We got an event coming up this month, and just to be able to from the profits I get from that. Just to be able to continue to just create. Hopefully I just get the ability to create, because with sneakers, it's really like a young man's game, honestly, going out there and doing it and spending that time and doing that. So, I mean, I could do it for some time, but like just segueing into other things, other businesses, other things like, yeah, I want it to help me create, basically.
How would you define a side hustler?
Your hobby, something that you're passionate about, something that you have if you're selling it, something you have product knowledge, something that that you would love to do away from your job. Because I mean, you leaving your job, like, what's the point of leaving a job and doing something that you don't want to do? Mm-hmm. Like, it's so a side hustle can really, like, a lot of people turn hobbies into side hustles, to me. But I guess a side hustle is just really something you're just doing away from your career. Honestly, something that can make you some money away from your career.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. That is all the questions that I have for you. However, in the spirit of this being a diary of a side hustler, there is an actual diary, which you have already written in.
I've already written it.
And I would love for you to read a piece of what you wrote, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me grab it. Okay, so I'm going to hand this to you.
Okay.
And you had a prompt. Can you tell us what the prompt was?
Okay. I got to find mine. Okay, here it is. When have you said no and you wish you would have said yes?
Okay, so you can read all of what you wrote. You can summarize it, read a piece of it. It's up to you.
It's multiple times I wish I would have said, well, that I've said no, and I wish I would have said yes. Like I said about the Jordan 1 collections, somebody offered to buy my Jordan 1 collection for a ton of money, and I just didn't take it because I was just like, I think that's the collector in me too. I felt like, I would have been empty, like inside, hollowed out without having those shoes. Like, but I should just sold them honestly. But also, a rep from eBay has approached me about like an eBay store, other things like that, and I was like, I didn't really want to do it. Then, but the eBay thing was like, it's straight. I mean, I could always jump on eBay, but I had a whatnot agent come up to me when I was at a sneaker con, and he was like, "Hey man, you should really get into sneaker streaming." I was like, at the time, I guess being the dinosaur of the sneaker game, I was like, nah, I don't think it's really something I want to do because I didn't want to put my face in front of the camera like that. But man, that is where it's going. People are selling so many shoes on TikTok. They're streaming on the Whatnot app. That's just the way it's going, man. Like I said before, like if you don't evolve with the trends of the business, like you'll be a dinosaur.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I think all my no's were in business where I lost money, So, but yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. That's all I have for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So, what was, as you look back over the 17 years, what was your biggest flip?
My biggest flip. My biggest flip was a Jordan 1. I think it was the Jordan 1. It was the satin one. So the release, like I was seeing the release, and it was a lot of hype around the release, and it was a really limited quantity on the shoe. And let me answer that question again.
I'll
Let's
ask
let's
again.
let's go back.
I'll ask again.
It was a bleeper blooper.
It's okay. We'll drop some behind the scenes footage.